Hello, welcome to another video from
Absolute Game of Nerd!
Right on. All right, so we have a little special episode for you today. We are going to review the Dune 2 movie. Obviously, it's not necessarily comic book related, but I think it falls in the realm of pop culture, and I think a lot of us comic book guys are kind of into the whole Dune thing, so it seemed appropriate. Joining me today, I have my buddy here, Ryan, Colossus Collector, also a Dune fan. Ryan, what's up?
Not too much, man. Nice to branch out of the comic world for a little bit and talk movies.
Yeah, I actually want
movie
to.
buff.
I kind of want to do this moving forward with like all of the, like I'm gonna do it with House of the Dragon review episodes and things like that, just to kind of like change it up. I think it'll be fun. Whether or not people watch it, who cares? I think
Yeah,
it'll be fun for me.
whatever.
Yeah, just FYI as well, there will absolutely 100% be spoilers in this review. So if you've not seen Dune 2, you may want to turn it off. But there you've been fairly warned.
Pause, come back later. Go
Yes.
see the movie and
Yes, and then wind it up. Okay, so to start, let's just get a baseline, Ryan. I want to know, have you seen Dune 1? We're going to assume you've seen Dune 1. I want to know if you liked Dune 1. I want to know if you've read the book or books, and I want to know if you've seen the original 1980s movie.
So I haven't read the book, and I have not seen the original. So I was a Dune, rookie virgin going into the first Dune by or this new version of Dune. I was stupid enough that when I went to see Dune 1, I didn't fully grasp that it was part 1. And so I was all excited, I'm a big movie guy. Saw this epic sci-fi coming out, went to see it, but didn't, I guess I didn't really do enough pre-research on it that I went in completely blind. And it actually kind of ruined my first watching of Dune for me because I had seen the trailers and, you see this like love story with Zendaya and Paul Atreides there, and the whole movie, I'm like, when is this happening? And I'm like looking, like watching, like when the heck do they get into the desert and like all this stuff? And then like they right at the end is when I was like, okay, so this is definitely part 1. So I ended up kind of not liking it the first time, but upon a second watch, I definitely liked it. I wouldn't say I loved it. So that's kind of where I was at with the first movie.
And then have you since, before watching Dune 2, did you at all go back and watch the original 80s one?
I did, like a week. Oh no. So I have not seen the original. It's still to this day. I don't need to see it. I figure I'm not gonna like it compared to the new stuff. I tend to like when it comes to old movies that I haven't seen, I don't often go back and watch old movies because I feel like if you watch it now without that like nostalgia part of it, you're just not really gonna.
No, I mean it's the same thing. Like we were talking about that one day on the text thread. Like Brandon's like, you got to watch Big Trouble in Little China. I was like, there's no way it's going to be good to me at 41 years old now.
Yeah.
Like when you guys watched it when you guys were kids with your dad and have this amazing experience that it brings you back to, like, it's just not going to, I'm going to be like, what the hell is this?
We were talking about Superman too. Like, and I've never watched the original Superman movies, which is crazy as a comic book fan and a superhero fan. It was just a little bit before my time, and I never was a big Superman fan to begin with. So I just never watched them. And like people always talk about how amazing they are, but like I know if I went back and watched them now, I just wouldn't really.
Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And so for me, I as well went into Dune 1, the movie, the newest movie, the first part.
Yeah, part 1.
With just the knowledge of like Dune is a hugely popular sci-fi storyline.
Yeah.
And that was it. And
you hadn't read it. You hadn't read.
I had not read it. But like I like sci-fi. It just seems like this is
Same.
going to be something right about. Not to mention the first part. I mean, just like this was massive reviews. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes is 90 plus score. Like I was like, well, this is going to be great. So I went into the movie. I saw it at the theater, and I liked it. I wouldn't say I loved it. I liked it on first watch.
Yep.
And I just knew, just because like there's so many like what the hell is the Bene Gesserit? Like I don't really understand what the space guild is, but it all sounded like there's more here that I need to know about. And then so that got me. I was like, okay, this is supposedly like an epic kind of book. So then I grabbed the book. I read book one and or the first Dune book, and I loved it. The book is awesome. And then I read Dune Messiah, I think is the second one. And that gets a little boring. And then like Children of Doom, I was like, okay, I couldn't really keep up with it. It got kind of stale for me. However, I would be interested to read some of the other books that talk about like some of the other families and the other worlds, because I think that stuff's pretty interesting.
Hmm.
Anyways, after the first read of the book, I then went back and watched Dune, the first part, and I was like blown away. I was like, this is awesome. I love it. I
With a
just
little more of that
yeah,
backstory.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it all made much more sense, and it was great. And so then I was hyped for Dune 2. And then I will say, since then, like one night, like even though I knew it was gonna be bad, like a couple buddies and I we watched the 1984 whatever it was movie. I mean, man, we're talking like serious drugs or something was going on when they were making this movie. It's like, have you ever seen the movie Willow?
Yes, I grew up on Willow. I love
Yeah.
Willow.
So imagine like Willow level kind of like nonsense, but in space in the future. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
it's wild. All right, so then let's go into Dune 2. So I mean, just from a general overview, what were your thoughts?
So Dune 2 was definitely a more action packed, a little bit more, adventurous, exciting film. Part one was definitely trying to build up a backstory too, and like trying to teach you a little bit about the characters, character building. So a lot of that happened in the first movie, and that's I think why maybe it comes across a little slower. It's also a book that's been split into parts, right? And so books always get a little bit more exciting towards a second half, third half, or third of the book. So Dune 2 was definitely a more exciting, faster pace. Again, not now knowing is a part two, and having a little bit more backstory from watching the first one, I definitely enjoyed Dune 2 more and understood it more, and it was a better experience for me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Dune 2 as well. I thought it was just from start to finish was just like first off, it's like beautifully shot. And so just kind of like the sound, the experience. It's like I always tell people like the best experience. And now I'm not saying this is the best movie, but when I saw Avatar, the first one, I saw it in like the Boeing IMAX theater here in Seattle, which is like this big spherical dome. And it was like the first time with like the James Cameron 3D, and like, when the things were floating around, you like felt you were there. And I always feel like that was the best movie experience I've had. And then I would say like Dune 2 now is like we saw it not at the same IMAX, but at a different IMAX. It's just like the sound and everything. I was like, man, this is awesome. So I really enjoyed it. And then even since I'll tell you, so like I did a little more back digging in terms of like context of the book, and of the author and things like that, which we'll talk about in a few minutes here. But yeah, I really really enjoyed it. And yeah, it is funny. Like you mentioned that part about Zendaya in for the first part. I remember being like, yeah, she's in all the trailers. Where is she at in this movie?
Yeah, it was so distracting. It
Yeah,
distracted me the whole first movie because I just like, what the heck is going on? Where like looking at the time and how long
yeah,
this is dragging on, and like wondering when is he going to be with the girl?
yeah.
It threw me off. Like it really threw off my first watching experience of the first part.
Yeah, and I will tell you, as after going back and reading the book, part one is like, I mean, it is as close, I feel like, movie to book I mean, obviously there are some departures, but like compared to others, like it is right there. It is really good. And what I had wondered about, so in the book, the second half, like up until like the first movie, right? It essentially is like on a week to week, day to day basis time scale. In the book, the part where it stops, it goes years into the future. Like his sister is born. His sister, his sister actually is the one that actually kills Baron Harkness, or yeah, Baron Harkonnen.
Mhm.
And so like she's like a
In the
teenager
in the book.
in the book, yeah. And so like
Okay.
in the movie, they just, instead of like spanning that much time, they kind of compressed it and just kept the baby in the womb but able to talk to the mom. And then obviously Paul is the one.
And it was interesting that Anna Taylor-Joy played, I guess, the sister in like his dream, vision sequence, but such a tiny role. I'm guessing that in the next part, they're going to maybe
So
push through with time, and she'll play a bigger role.
Dennis Villanueva, the director, who's awesome. I mean, I don't know if you've seen like Arrival is his movie.
I have a cool story actually about him.
Oh, what's that?
So, I work in advertising, and early on in my career, first couple of years, I shot this commercial with a French director, not Denny Villeneuve. But I shot with a French director that knew him, that was friends with him, and on set we were actually talking to him, and it had just released that he got the Blade Runner job, and he was telling us about how excited he was to do Blade Runner, and he was just kind of just spoke about it from like an inside perspective, having like being friends with him and stuff, which was kind of cool. And then he ended up doing that film, and then went on to the Dune films. But like, yeah, I've kind of really kind of known about Denis Villeneuve already for a long time because of that
Okay,
interaction.
Cool. Yeah, no, he's a phenomenal director. So, well, I don't remember where we were before, but anyways, he has already come out and said, or he is going to do the next movie, Dune Messiah, but then that's where he is going to
he
stop.
said he was on Daily Show with Daily, what is it called? The Late Show with Colbert.
Yeah.
I saw an interview he did there, and he said that there's a second novel that's going to be turned into
And
the part
so
3.
Anya Taylor-Joy has a big role in the future of Dune. So I'm sure she'll play a big role in the movie. And then I'm assuming like the first one made a lot of money. This one's probably going to make a lot of money. So, I mean, we all know if they're going to keep making money, they're going to keep making content.
Yeah.
And I imagine it'll go past Dune Messiah, which he has a role in. And then I also just learned there's going to be a Dune HBO show, which I don't know where that goes, or if it's going to be about like the other stories. Because I don't know if you know, but like the main author wrote the 3 books, and then his son, after he passed, like picked up and like created or like wrote like tales, like he has like books on like the Harkonnen family and book on the Atreides family.
He built out the world a little, or the universe a little bit more.
And so like I could see like HBO like going into those. So who knows? But yeah, so I think she'll have a bigger role, and hence why she did this mini role. But so that, I would say, in terms of like differences from the book, so they compressed the timeline, kept her in the womb outside of that dream. And then the other big one, which it doesn't bother me. And I should also clarify, like, I did read the book. I've only read it once. I'm not one of those guys that like took notes and like knows every detail. Like I remember the kind of main points. I enjoyed it, but I have not like reread it several times to like really know it like an expert. So I'm sure there are other things I missed, but the other major departure from the book is in the book. And I think this is just the difference between a book that's written in the 60s and a story that's made today. Zendaya's character in the book goes along with Paul with everything. And then even when he marries Princess Irulan, or at least, says he's going to marry her, she goes along with it. But there's also parts where like Paul is like tells Irulan, I will never love you. I will never touch you. Like, you know, Chani is my girl. And like, they even have kids. Whereas like the book or in the movie, it's more, she was defiant.
Yeah, they seem
Throughout.
to try to split them apart a little
Yeah,
bit.
and then there's no like, I'm gonna marry her for political cause, but you are still the numero uno. But I don't,
I wonder what went into making that decision.
I think like, again, not to get into too big of the political discussion. I just think in 2024, like a
Right,
subservient woman is not going to fly too hot with a lot of
right,
things.
right, 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 right.
But
That's a good point. That's a good
yeah,
point.
but that being said, in the book, they do have kids, and the kids also have a big role in the follow-ups. So I'm interested to see how they take or manage that. Like, do they get back together? I don't know. We'll see. But like, it's very clear in the book. Like, he is like, Irulan, you are my bride on paper, and it's only to get like the other, for political reasons. Like,
Yeah, it's a political
yeah,
arrangement. Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting to see what they do, especially with time. Just Timothy Chalamet is a very young looking guy.
yeah,
You know
he
what I
looks
mean?
like he's a teenager.
Yeah, and like already, like if they bring in Tanya, I forget her, Anya Taylor Joy, as his sister, she's already feels older than him.
Yeah, but she too, though. Also, I feel like looks.
She feels young, but
young
like
too.
honestly, like that's it's gonna be a little weird. And then if you're like he's got kids now, that's really gonna feel off. I don't know. It's it'll be interesting. Maybe it won't matter, but yeah, he's not one that could like age up in a way that would feel like natural.
Yeah. The other thing too that I really enjoyed about Dune 2, and this is true to the book. So, and this is kind of the backstory I was talking about. I read up after I saw the movie, and which is also makes me really excited to rewatch again. So, one of the main motivations for the author to write this story is he was someone that had this fear that we put too much trust in charismatic leaders. And when we do that, like they can kind of take liberty with that and kind of stray, but they're so charismatic that we just kind of follow along and they lead us in these bad situations. So like he personally thought like JFK was like one of the most like potentially dangerous presidents we've ever had because of his charisma, that people just loved him. And so he wanted to write this story, or one of the motives was to write a story that kind of demonstrated that. And I really enjoyed it, whereas the 1980s movie is just a true good versus evil kind of revenge, good triumphs in the end, and all is good. This movie shows, which is great. I think this is more realistic to the world. Like the world is not black and white. It's not good versus evil. It's all different shades of gray. And you kind of see in the movie, Paul struggles with accepting this like prophecy because he knows it's going to lead to a lot of death. That's why Chani's defiant. And then at the end, he kind of has to basically is forced into giving in. And then, when all the ruling houses at the end, after he beats Fade Routha, they're like, we don't accept you just ascending the throne like that. And he says to the Fremen, like, lead them to paradise. And she's like, this is the start of the Holy War. Like, is Paul like a bad guy? Like, I mean,
is he abusing his godlike following to gain the things he wants to gain?
So it puts it back in that like, whoa, is he a hero? Is he a villain? Is he a greater bad than a greater good? And the movie makes it clear like that's a question that we should be asking. And I like that aspect of the movie. Like we were talking about this on the text the other day. Like some people like movies with absolute resolution. Like I just feel like in life, absolute resolution is not ever really a thing. Like it just, you get a little bit of this, a little bit of that, different shades of gray. And I thought he did a great job handling that with the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could get away with it a little bit too because it's a part 2 of 3, right? So you don't have to fully resolve resolve the end. I felt like it ended in a place though where you like, okay, there was a bit of a satisfying
Oh yeah,
conclusion to it, right? He gets there, he beats Rotha, he essentially defeats the emperor and becomes the new emperor based on this marriage that he's agreed to. And now it just it leads into the next part, which is basically he's got to fully claim that power and
hmm
defeat anybody who comes up against him, which will be a pretty cool third
yeah.
part of
And
the story.
just on that note, when that fight scene at the end with so Austin Butler plays Fade Ralph, that
Yeah,
was awesome.
yeah,
Like
no,
that
it was
was
great. It
awesome.
was
Yeah.
really well done.
Uh, oh, go ahead.
I was also gonna say, like, going back to the director, like he creates truly beautiful cinematic,
Landscape.
scenes, landscapes, all that stuff. That's definitely his wheelhouse. Like if you, and he's just a very cinematic director. But I think the coolest part of that movie was when we were on the Harkonnen home planet and he shot that all with an infrared camera. So it's
You talk about the scene that were all black and white.
all black and white, but like the crispest black and white footage you could shoot, right? Like it wasn't shot black and white, it was shot in infrared. Which
Why would they do that?
it gives that effect. Like
Ah,
it's not post, it's literally filmed in this like deep dark blacks and there's no color. It's like very, very like the contrast is insane. And he even said in the interview that was like a choice and there was no like going back. Like they couldn't like shoot it and then see how it goes and then in post, oh, maybe we want color. No, like it was a decision they made
hmm.
on set. Film it this way, it's gonna be this way in the movie, which is great because sometimes that stuff doesn't fly. Like the studio's like, oh, but we might not want that, we might not like that when you put it all together. We might want it colored or might want it a different way. That was like a very, very stark choice that they made that I think paid off because it looked like really, really cool.
Hmm. Oh, okay. I did not know that. That's very interesting. The other thing, yeah, that's really cool though. The other thing too, I thought he did really well. So we're into comic books. We're into like we can all be honest, like these are nerdy things, but they're cool to us, right?
Yeah.
And I do think that like there are kind of levels almost of nerdiness. Like you can say like this is not as nerdy as that. Like and so like I was talking to a coworker and she was like, I was telling her I was seeing Dune. She's like, oh, everyone's talking about it. I should go see this movie. And I was like, be aware, like there's sci-fi, like you can have fairly straightforward sci-fi, and then like
Mhm.
this is like another level of nerdiness on top. When you think about like the things like the Sardaukar and their like outfits, like the black outfits, like those don't make any like tactical sense, but like he embraces it and it works. You know what I mean? Like he could have just
Yeah.
made fairly simple, like streamlined, like space looking commando outfits, but no, he like fully embraced like this world that the Dune is odd, and it totally works. And the other thing too, like other things like the Bene Gesserit, like when you think about it, like if I was making like that's something like a lot of those details you could totally generalize to appeal to a larger audience that isn't into the fine nerdy details of like the Dune story. And I thought he did an awesome job of embracing all of that, but making it relatable to even to someone that uh, isn't a Dune fanatic, right? Like when he interweaves like how the what was it, Reverend Mother Mohayim is talking about like, no, this is how one of the options that we planned for. There's like either Paul would succeed or Fade Routha would succeed, and this is all just the genetic breeding that we've done to create these situations. Like they fully embraced it and made it relatable, I think, to anybody.
Yeah, it's funny that you put it in the context that it's like it's extra nerdy I get that because it's the details and like out of the book and like they like bringing that detail to life and getting like caught up in the details. I almost think of it more like it's so artful. Like the film is so artistic. And I guess that's kind of nerdy, but like I think it's more like, man, this is an art sci-fi film.
This
like,
is the point I'm making, right? Like this is the director is that's the skill he brings us, right? Like,
yeah,
let's just say you take a far less skilled director and try to make this movie. People that have not read Dune would be like, dude, that was the dumbest thing. Or, I mean, like the 1984 movie is a perfect example. Like you watch that, and you're just like, this is some cheesy, corny bullshit, and like it looks terrible. Like, but like he was able to pull it off, and everyone, even if you're not a fan, it's just like that was awesome.
Yeah, it's I think if you go the other way, it becomes a popcorny blockbuster film, which could be good, but it doesn't. I don't know, the way he does it is it really transports you there, and like it feels authentic in a way, almost, right? Like it almost feels like a period piece, as opposed to a sci-fi fantasy. And like he did it, like, although there's like some pretty out there stuff in the film, there's also like just a real realness to it, like I said, right? Like the parts with the desert and their religion and all that stuff's like really baked into like stuff that feels familiar here on planet Earth, like which just gives it this just feel of like, holy crap, it's just so raw and real, and makes you feel like you're there in a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, I agree. It totally makes you feel relatable, like you're there. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I think that's what makes it great. I mean, I think that's the key to what made it great. So yeah, I mean, any other, we can start to wrap up here. Any last thoughts on Dune 2?
I'll say you could tell it was a project that a lot of people wanted to be a part of, despite the role they'd play. And I mean, I guess there is some promise of a third film where the roles might increase, but like throughout this whole trilogy, like the cast that he put together is a pretty impressive cast of actors and actresses. And like it only got more impressive in this film when they brought in Anya Taylor-Joy to play this one little tiny cameo.
Yeah, or like you think
Florence Pugh,
Oscar Isaac is Leto, and
he died
like 45 minutes.
Yeah, and what's his face in the
Josh
first movie
Brolin
too?
is also not that much of the movie.
Not a huge role. And then why can't Jason Momoa was in the first one?
Yeah.
And Dave Bautista played Beast. I forget the character.
He played Fade Routha's like brother, the other cousin.
Or, other
nephew,
or uncle or something. But yeah, he. Again, not like a huge role, and I'm not saying he's like a monster star, but he's becoming pretty big, and he just took that role because it's just an opportunity to be in like a real epic film by a real artistic director that I think a lot of actors respect. So anyway, just a really cool cast that he put together too.
Yeah, I mean, I would say too, just on that note, like to me, at right this moment in Hollywood, like there are two directors just like dominating the game. It's Villanueva and Christopher Nolan. Like, and that's why you get these actors and actresses that want to be in these movies, regardless of the role. Or I mean, another great example was like Florence Pugh. Like she's not in the movie that much, but like she's a fairly big actress. Like they want to be. It doesn't matter what these guys are making.
Walking, man.
Yeah, like if these guys are making the movies, people want to be them because they're going to be a part of something that's epic, and that's awesome.
I wish we got more Walkenisms in the film, though. I don't know if that would have worked, but
yeah, it probably would have worked. But like, I always love the walk. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
I love me some Christopher Walken lines.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say, if kind of like being transferred into this kind of setting and this kind of imagination involved, Ryan and I have been talking about it. A show you should check out is called Shogun on FX and on Hulu, and it's incredible. It's 4 episodes out.
I haven't watched this week's episode yet, so no.
Oh man.
But man, that show is so good, so good.
But it does the same thing, right? It like takes you there to 1600 Japan, and like you are in it. Like
So
I'm
well done.
obsessed. Yeah, it's so good.
I'm a big history buff. I love period piece movies and shows. So when I saw this coming out, it definitely was like, okay, gotta watch that. And it has not disappointed. It's like my favorite thing I'm watching right now.
Yeah, 100%. Like I have now set it up where I'm gonna rewatch the previous week's episode on Monday and then watch the new one on Tuesday. And yeah, when it wraps, we should definitely do a Shogun review kind of to follow along with this.
So it's so good. I'm on, like, I don't love the week to week thing because I just like I'm so hungry to watch more.
Yeah.
So I'm debating whether I want to just save the episode that just came out till next week and get 2 episodes back to back. Just more satisfying, but we'll see. We'll see if I can hold out. I'm already like just thinking about it. I'm like, oh, maybe I should watch that tonight.
Right on, man. Well, thanks for joining me today. And everyone, thanks for watching. Let us know what you thought of Dune 2. Yeah, as always, like, comment, subscribe. Be sure if you don't follow Colorssus Collector on YouTube and Instagram, follow him up. But yeah, everyone, thanks for joining, and we will catch you on the next one.